One of the world's most iconic brands was once on the brink of bankruptcy. So, what happened that caused this giant tobacco brand to suddenly be reborn and rise to the top? Here's today's story: the rebirth of Marlboro. Yes, you heard it right. Marlboro was facing a major crisis at the end of the 1970s. Sales had hit rock bottom, and growing concerns about health were threatening the brand. But just a few years later, almost a miracle happened. So, how did Marlboro avoid bankruptcy? Was it a marketing strategy or a completely new vision? In this video, we'll explain how the iconic brand came out of crisis and reached the top, and the strategy that made it possible. Pre-crisis situation. Narrator. In the late 1950s, Marlboro established a strong presence in the tobacco market and began significant growth by the mid-1960s. Smoking was no longer just a habit but had also become a status symbol. However, the 1970s marked a turning point for the tobacco industry. Scientific research began to reveal the health risks of smoking. Both governments and health organizations emphasized the dangers of tobacco use. By the mid-1970s, cigarette bans increased, advertising was restricted, and public reactions to smoking had drastically changed. Smoking was now seen not only as a threat to health, but also as something that could harm an individual's social status. In this new atmosphere, Marlboro was under serious threat. During this period, overall cigarette sales declined, and Marlboro, especially in the United States, faced its first major crisis. By the end of the 1970s, the company's market share had shrunk, and its annual revenue had plummeted. Bankruptcy was looming. The brink of bankruptcy. By the early 1980s, Marlboro's situation had become critical. Increased health warnings, high taxes on cigarettes, and growing competition put the brand in a tough spot. Other brands were entering the market with more affordable and health-conscious products. As a result, Marlboro's annual revenue continued to decline sharply. The management team of Marlboro sought solutions to reverse this trend. However, the strategies of that time didn't seem sufficient to get through this tough period. So, what should they do? If no changes were made, bankruptcy seemed inevitable. The beginning of the rebirth. But every crisis brings an opportunity. The person who sparked Marlboro's rebirth was a young advertising executive in the company's marketing department. In the late 1980s, he proposed a major shift. He argued that Marlboro's brand should not just be seen as a cigarette brand, but as a lifestyle brand. Marlboro's marketing strategy was transformed to not only target smokers, but also appeal to non-smokers. The new advertisements emphasized themes like nature, freedom, and individual power. Strong connections were made with the popular free spirit and independence themes of the time. Thus, the Marlboro Man came back to life, but this time not just for smokers, but as a symbol of freedom and independence in the public's eyes. Brand identity and innovation. Marlboro's salvation wasn't limited to changes in marketing strategies. The company also began to diversify its product range. Menthol cigarettes catering to more delicate tastes, lower nicotine options, and new flavors were introduced. These innovations allowed Marlboro to appeal to different customer segments. Additionally, in the early 1990s, Marlboro expanded its presence in global markets and offered tailored products in different regions. The company also achieved great success outside the United States. Still, Marlboro's greatest success was selling itself not just to smokers, but to anyone in search of a lifestyle. Dropping empty Marlboro boxes from planes. So, what was another interesting strategy that helped Marlboro's salvation? In the late 1980s, the company made a bold and creative move. As part of an advertising campaign, empty Marlboro boxes were dropped from planes. These boxes symbolized the global rebirth of the brand. This creative move demonstrated that the brand was spreading worldwide, both physically and psychologically. This strategy helped the cigarette brand attract global attention. People saw this bold and creative move not only as a cigarette advertisement, but also as a symbol of freedom, adventure, and exploration. And this was one of the most important moves that helped Marlboro escape the brink of bankruptcy. 1995, a new beginning. By 1995, Marlboro had left its past struggles behind. The company had transformed from just a seller of a harmful product to a global lifestyle brand. Cigarette sales rose again, and the company had avoided bankruptcy and significantly increased its revenue. In 1995, Marlboro regained its title as the world's largest cigarette brand. This was a revolutionary success in the tobacco industry. Many analysts attributed this success not only to marketing strategies, but also to the bold decisions the brand made and its deep understanding of the spirit of the times. Today and the future. Narrator. Today, Marlboro is still a globally recognized brand. In a world where cigarette bans and health consciousness are rising, the company continues to exist by developing different products. It is advancing with alternative nicotine products, health-conscious items, and other innovations. Understanding how Marlboro avoided bankruptcy and the moves it made to achieve this is not just the story of one brand, but also an example of how opportunities can arise from crises. This story illustrates how brands can be reborn through bold steps and the right strategies. And so, Marlboro, once on the brink of bankruptcy, has today become a brand recognized and remembered worldwide. Success born from crises sometimes leaves its mark on history. Marlboro's story is proof of that. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You can like my video for more such videos.